know that we're going to have a hearing here. The purpose of the hearing is for the naming of the baseball field at South Caldwell High School for Coach Fred Lanford. We are allocating up to a total of 20 minutes there, with each speaker having approximately 3 minutes to speak. And we'll go ahead and convene this public hearing at this point. Do we have anyone to make comments in regards to this issue? Mr. Smith, principal at South Caldwell.
Chairman Pennell, Vice Chair Knight, board members, and Dr. Stone, on behalf of South Caldwell faculty, staff, Athletic Boosters Club, I would like to thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak about Coach Fred Lanford. Coach Lanford spent many years in the classroom as a teacher in Caldwell County and on the field as a head baseball coach. Coach Lanford served as a head baseball coach at Hudson High School from 1965 to 1977. He then transitioned to South Caldwell in the same position to serve from 1977 to 2000. During his time as the leader of our baseball program, he experienced a great deal of success. His accomplishments and honors are as followed. He was a Northwest 3A Conference champion 4 times while at Hudson High School. He was also the North Carolina 4A state champion, the coach of that team in 1982, 7 consecutive conference championships at South Caldwell from 1985 to 1991. He had an undefeated regular season in 1994, won his 500th baseball victory in 1999, reached the state playoffs in 19 out of 20 seasons as the head coach at South Caldwell. His career record was 538 wins to only 151 losses. His winning percentage there at South was 78%. He won a total of 19 conference titles. He was also recognized as North Carolina Coach of the Year in baseball in 1982 and 1994. Named Conference Coach of the Year 15 times. He's also an inductee to the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame, as well as the North Carolina Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame. And he is also a proud member of the Caldwell County Hall of Fame. Through these many accomplishments and honors, Coach Fred Lanford served the students of our community with a strong work ethic, great pride, and determination. Coach Lanford has had a tremendous impact on his students and his players. Coach Lanford has spent his years in retirement as a strong supporter of Spartan athletics. When the gym lights are on or the field lights are on, there's a strong chance that you will see Coach Lanford in the stands. Our school appreciates his commitment and dedication throughout his time. We feel that it would be an honor to name our baseball field after this lifelong Spartan. Coach Fred Lanford is most deserving of this special honor, and we look forward to him attending future baseball games at Fred Lanford Field on the campus of South Caldwell High School. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We appreciate those comments. Do we have anyone else with any comment on this matter? Front row.
Didn't know this.
That's fine. Anyone? Okay. Do I hear a motion that we close the hearing?
I make the motion that we close the hearing.
Is there a second? Okay. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the hearing is closed. We expect later in our meeting that we will be taking action on this matter. Okay, we'll move on with the agenda for our regular board meeting here, and that is the invocation for the board. So as we approach this busy time of the year, and the spring season is upon us, and school year is drawing to a close pretty soon. We know there's a lot of pressure on our students, our teachers, our administrators to get to the finish line, and so let's keep them in our thoughts as we go through this time, and certainly as well our country and circumstances and situations around the world. So will you join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. At this time, Mr. Lanford, would you like to say a few words at this time?
Well, I'm not going to speak, but I do appreciate you considering the time and name to see tonight. I can't think of a higher honor I've received than you get much of award throughout my career. But there's nothing more important than to be recognized in your own community. And at this point in time, I'm not had other than Caldwell County Hall of Fame recognition. And over the course of time, that's evolved. I hope not with this success. You did, and I certainly thank you, and I want to thank all these young men that I've chosen who have worked to get this done. And this country. Without them, I wouldn't be here tonight. Without the players that I coached, I wouldn't be here tonight. And without the family that I have been supporting me through these years, I wouldn't be here tonight. I always wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. I remember playing in a state playoff game when I was in high school, and we had a really good team. And there was a pro scout who came and talked to our coach, and asked our coach what that pace was up there too. Got good fastball, good enough for curveball. What about so and so? Some guy down, I was a leading hitter. What about Landry? You get him, he's slow. So much about the same team to a week. Like a nightmare or something. Not true. But baseball is a great sport. It is in athletics, it's been the thing that's made South Caldwell stand tall. And I am just certainly happy that I had a part in that. So many young men have turned out so great, so good for our community and other communities. And if I had just a small role in any of that, that's a great reward to anything that I've got before. Their success made me successful. There's ways of getting rewards. If I had a reward, you get a trophy, you're good for that. But someone coming up and saying, Coach, thank you, that's what it is all. So, again, I appreciate you considering this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Coach Lanford. Also would like to recognize Joshua Parsons. Joshua, would you stand up for a second here? Joshua is an ASU student. He's here tonight doing a homework assignment of sorts from Appalachian State.
Yeah, absolutely, yep.
And he's studying social work, so he's with us tonight. So we're glad that you made the trip down the mountain, and hope you don't have any problem getting back up.
Good, thank you.
No, it's supposed to be some bad weather the next 24 hours or so in Boone. Next on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. We have some Project Unify students: Nicholas Harbison, son of Tracy and Eric Harbison; Lawson Britton, son of Diana and Robert Britton; Natalie Miller, daughter of Jennifer Burwell; KAILEY Moore, daughter of Dana and Jason Miller; Jack Kuhn, son of Heather and W.H. Kuhn; Aaron Triplett, son of Mary and Mickey Triplett. So I think you all are here. So if everyone will please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great job. Good job. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you coming out tonight. Next is the approval of the agenda the board has had for several days here and had a chance to review. Do I hear a motion that we approve the agenda as has been submitted?
Chairman Pennell, I move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
the motion.
Any comments? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And next is approval of the minutes of our February 13th meeting, 2017. We had a regular session, and it was followed by a closed session. Once again, the board's had an opportunity to review this. Do I hear a motion that we approve the minutes of both of those meetings on the 13th of February?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes of the February 13th regular session and closed session.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion passes. Next is the public comment, and as of 4:30 this afternoon, we have received no public comment, so we'll move on with the announcements. 1 week from today at 8 o'clock in the morning, the board will be going to its third and final walkthrough of this academic school year. We will be traveling to, I'm not sure, is it 8 or 9 schools, but to a number of schools around the county, and we'll be probably finishing up around 1 or 1:30. So we enjoy that. It's something we look forward to, and that will be a week from today. As a matter of fact, some of the board members have basically been here about all day. The facilities committee and some of the other board members were here at 8 o'clock this morning, and they were dealing with some situations in regards to choosing an architect. And then we had a work session at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and we came straight from the work session in here. So it's been a long day of meetings for many of us here. April the 10th will be our next regular board meeting. April 24th, we will have Southern Association interviews here at the Education Center. Actually, those people will be in town, I think, from the 23rd of April through about the 26th. The Board of Education will have a special session meeting at noon on April the 26th. The next item on our agenda is honors and recognitions. And certainly, we appreciate you being here and taking part in this. We're going to ask Libby Brown, our Community Relations Director, to come forward, and the board's going to move down, and we want to meet and congratulate those receiving awards.
Chairman Pennell, board members, Dr. Stone, it is always a pleasure to begin the honors and recognition segment of the Board of Education meeting with the Education Center Art Gallery. We are so proud and honored to house the most current display of student artwork at the Education Center, and parents are always welcome to return and come back and bring other family members and enjoy your favorite artist's artwork here in the Education Center. We're going to start with BATON Elementary School, and Jason Tiefteller is the principal, and Jennifer Green, is the art teacher. And I know Mrs. Green is here and also Mr. Teef Taylor. But we're going to start with your students. So we want to recognize each of our little artists from BATON Elementary. Cheyenne Brittain, 2nd grade. Cheyenne's here? Where's Mr. Teef Taylor? Okay. Michaela Elmore, 2nd grade.
You're up, you have to come on down.
Gavin. Here comes Mr. Teef Taylor. You're a good sport. Gavin Gauthier. Yes, and Gavin is a kindergartner. Nathaniel Holland is also in kindergarten, and there's Nathaniel right here on the front row. Anastasia Lawrence is a first, and there's Anastasia. We're going to take some pictures, so just stand right up there in the front. You're special tonight with your artwork. We're going to go, do you want to add Granite Falls Elementary? Okay, let's add Granite Falls Elementary School with Chris Green, principal, and Millie Hefner, the art teacher. Yeah. So Laurel Barker, 4th grader from Granite Falls Elementary. This is Miss Barker. SYDNEE BUMGARNER, 4th grader, Granite Falls Elementary. Elena Parlier, 4th grader, Granite Falls. KAILEY Royal, 3rd grader, Granite Falls Elementary. And Brianna Torres Flores, 1st grader, Granite Falls Elementary. Do you want to do the 3rd school? Okay. And the art teachers are here, so Mrs. Green, you need to join your students. And let's see, Miss Hefner, is Miss Hefner here? And Chris Green, Mr. Green, join your students. And now it's time for pictures. Yes, you can take me pictures.
Okay, we're going to take pictures, and so you will stay up here as long as you want. And students, if you will turn your certificate around and point it at the camera, away from your face, and smile, okay? Keep smiling until every camera's gone.
And for our final group of artists that we have tonight that we'd like to recognize, this group is from SAWMILLS Elementary School, and Courtney Wright is the principal, and Mr. Brad Wright is the art teacher, and I know they're both here this evening. KAILEY Bartley, 2nd grader from SAWMILLS Elementary. Lillian Brown, 4th grader. Is Lillian here? DACY Crisp, 5th grader, SAWMILLS Elementary. McKenna Lamford, 3rd grade, SAWMILLS Elementary. Oh, all right. And Macy Wright, 2nd grade, SAWMILLS Elementary. Mr. Wright, I think you should join your daughter here and your student. And let's see, Mrs. Wright, I think you're here. So Courtney, you in the front.
All right. Come on down a little bit. Get right here in the middle. Come down, ladies. All right, there you go.
Thank you. Let's give another big round of applause for all of our artists here. BATON Elementary Archery Team, North Carolina State Champions. BATON Elementary students hit the bullseye during their recent participation in the National Archery in Schools program as they claimed the state championship title. In their fourth-year participation, 23 students in grades 4 and 5 collectively scored enough points to capture the first-place finish in the statewide virtual competition. 12 members of the team, 6 boys and 6 girls, scored in the top 10 in the state with their individual performances. Coach Bill Knight started the team 4 years ago. They've had qualifiers individually at the national level for 4 years. This is the first time they've placed first in North Carolina. They placed second last year. And Colt Kell, the PE teacher now, because Bill Knight was the former PE teacher, Colt Call, PE teacher now at BATON Elementary School, is also coaching the team. So we'd like for Mr. Knight and we'd like for Mr. Colt Kell to come forward because he's also going to be in the spotlight in a minute from now. So he's a very busy young man. So if you guys would like to come forward and help the kids, because that's why we have such a big crowd here tonight. We have the entire team. And Mr. T. Teller, if you'd like to join, right?
Yes, ma'am. Y'all coming out, aren't you?
So champion archers, as I call your name, please come forward to be recognized by the Board of Education. Emma Grace Harris. Lily Honeycutt. Kelsey Kazaya. Zoe Marley. Alyssa Rivers. Trinity Hicks. Seth Hensley. Daisha Burwell. Michael Garrett. Trina Hurtado. Emily Coffey. And the next students actually placed in the top 10. So I'm going to start with Silas Scruggs. Okay? Silas Scruggs. Okay? He's not here? Okay. Zach Caldwell. Tristan Griffith. Trey Shell. John Spears. Andrea Rhodes. Bryson Ginwright. Bryson Ginwright. Gwendolyn Chester. Hunter Filyaw. Okay. Lauren Harris. Jaden Drum. Jaden was the top scoring boy in the competition, and Finley Young was the top scoring girl in North Carolina. So Finley Young. So now it's picture time. We're very proud of this team, and they will be going to Louisville, Kentucky in May. And very proud of them, and the whole team is trying to go to Louisville, Kentucky, and they're getting all of their funds together now. Donations are accepted. Coach Knight, would you like to say something, or Coach Kell? Mr. T. Taylor?
Mr. T does all the talk.
Proud of these guys. Coach Knight started this 4 years ago. He looked at me and thought I was crazy. My first one had 4th and 5th grade students shooting arrows around shooting medium. But he hung in there with me, and it's been a good ride. Proud of him.
Yes. And good luck in the Nationals. Very proud of you. Okay. We're very proud of these young people, and we wish them the best at the national competition. And now we're going to turn our attention to some high school students who are also champions. The NCHSAA Wrestling Championships concluded with 2 Caldwell County High School students crowned as champions, starting with High Brighton High School. 3A state champion in 160 pounds, Hayden Wyke. So Hayden. High Brighton High wrestling coach is Todd Champion and George Christus, and I think they're both here. Yes. Very proud of. Do you want to do? Let's do them individually, okay? Yeah. And different weight classes. Yes, great job. Congratulations. We also have a 2A state champion in our midst. We have Shaquille Steptoe from West Caldwell High School, 2A state champion in 220 pounds. We have the wrestling coaches here also with him, Eric Crook from West Caldwell and assistant Colt Kell. So you've seen Colt before. Colt's a very busy teacher and coach. Andy Poole is the principal, but I do not see Mr. Poole. Very proud of you. Very proud of you. And we also have champions in the classroom. So we are going to recognize Scott Cook, science teacher at Gamewell Middle School. He received the North Carolina Teacher to Watch Award. Scott Cook has been named the 2017 North Carolina Middle Level Education Teacher to Watch by one of the state's largest, most prominent organizations for providing support, resources, and recognition for middle level education. Have to stand there for a few minutes while we brag on you. In the 3 years Mr. Cook has taught at Gamewell Middle School, Principal Anna Crook said that his impact on students has been tremendous, and he goes well above what is expected to show support for his students and his colleagues. Mr. Cook started a Gamewell Middle School philanthropy club this school year that has resulted in 8th grade students wanting to do more for the community of Gamewell. The club is about enabling students to become more aware of their surroundings and the needs that are in their community and among their peers. They lead the charge with ideas and suggestions, and Mr. Cook helps them to organize a response by planning and securing the necessary resources to provide assistance. And I know they've helped the Gamewell Fire Department, they've helped families in their own community. They're trying to get resources together to start a garden at Gamewell Middle School and a greenhouse. And you also made a donation to the, what was it, the women's shelter. So they made a donation to the women's shelter. So Mr. Cook has already been in the spotlight at the NCMLE conference in Greensboro a week ago. But we want to have him in the spotlight tonight in Caldwell County because we are very proud of our teachers in Caldwell County, and Mr. Cook, it's his time to shine as the North Carolina Teacher to Watch. So congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting, but if your children need to get home for dinner or homework, now would be an appropriate time. But we appreciate you coming out tonight.
Is it a class?
I'm guessing. So.
calm down.
This group here, are y'all West Caldwell? Mr. Ramsey's class? Okay, well, it's good to see you again.
And some here in the back too, right?
Okay, those who are West Caldwell, Mr. Ramsey Civics class, you'll stand up. How many we got? About 7 or 8, but maybe 10 or so. Great. Thank you all for being here. Y'all gonna have to write a report or something? Okay, well, very good.
Well, make us look good, okay?
All right, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, I'd like to recognize our superintendent, Dr. Steve Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. At this point, we usually hear from members of the community who are important to Caldwell County Schools. And I want to send regrets from Barbara Armstrong, who's president and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. She lives in Boone, and so she was a little bit worried about getting home tonight, so she said she'd like to come back in April. However, Debbie Eller lives in Morganton, and so she has no excuse, so she couldn't get out of it, so she didn't want to anyway. We have Debbie Eller, who's the executive director for our Communities in Schools program, which is probably one of the most successful programs in Caldwell County Schools with an external partner. So welcome, Debbie.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you live in Morganton.
Chairman Panel, school board members, Dr. Stone, we're here tonight to tell you, you have a sheet in front of you that's an impact study that's done by a third party, which is, it's validated by RTI International. That's part of the data that we enter into our system where we keep track of our success. So at current, though, right now, we're serving about 490 students, and the classroom students receive curriculum that provides financial literacy, small business enterprise, workforce development, and civic responsibility. All students are provided with wraparound services that address barriers to education, and as we all know, those barriers can be just about anything that a student might need in order to address those. This year, we've had great success. I mean, in last year, in 15-16, 97% of our students who are eligible to graduate graduated, and we're extremely proud of that. We also had an attendance goal, and these are students that have attendance, probably an attendance deficit. We had 89% of those attend school. And with coursework, we had 92% improved. So we're real proud of those statistics from last year, and I think we're doing just as good this year. We want to let you know that at the first of the year, we did some high school team building with disc golf. The students all went out in September and worked as teams to compete against each other in Sawmills at the disc golf course. William Lenore did a school-wide read called Seraphina and the Man in the Black Cloak. And after that, the CIS students actually went to the Biltmore to see, because the Biltmore is a big part of that particular read, and they got to see the Biltmore up close and personal and see some of the areas that were mentioned in the book and kind of explore things that they might not have otherwise seen, and that was a great trip. High Brighton High School went to IKEA. And that's a Swedish entrepreneurial business that started that has expanded all over the world, actually. And the kids had lunch in the cafe, so they had Swedish food. And my understanding from Ms. Tuttle is that they really ate well. So they let them go back, and when they saw how much the students were enjoying it, they just let them have seconds or thirds or whatever it was they wanted. That was a great little trip for them. West Caldwell High School and William Lenore Middle School both have done what they call food labs. And those food labs have been where when their mentors have been there, they've gone and they've cooked. So I happened to be able to be at William Lenore Middle School when they did this, and they made blueberry pies. And it was really fun to watch them cut the dough and put it in the pan, and then they had to make a lattice top, and then they couldn't decide how they were going to be able to tell each pie, one from the other, so they all came up with a unique little design to put on top of their pie out of what was left of their dough. So that was a lot of fun. On March 23rd, 28 of our high school students in the CIS program will attend the Youth Summit. The Youth Summit will be at the North Carolina Engineering Technology Center in Hickory. The Shark Tank for our CIS students will be on April 4th, and we are looking for judges. If any of you would like to come out and be a judge, we'd love to have you. It's a great event. The High Brighton Hill Run is April the 8th, and I challenge all of you to run up High Brighton Mountain. Reality Store is on the 13th. That's a great partnership with the school system and the Chamber of Commerce. We'll have about 950 students that'll attend that day. We're always looking for people to volunteer in one of the stores. And if you can't volunteer, please just drop in and be a part of what's happening. It's a great experience, and it's one of the things that I think everyone enjoys the most. And this year, for the first time, students cannot be married. So this year, all of our students are still working on what they want to be when they grow up. So all students will be single, and they'll all have to just maneuver their way through life. All of our CIS freshmen will attend workshops on the 26th of April. One of those is called the Egg Baby Project, and that's about teen parenting. It's an event where the students are paired in twos, and they all get a soft egg, an egg that's not boiled, it's raw, and that is a baby, and it has a little face, and they have to take care of that baby for the period of the workshop and make sure it doesn't get broken or cracked, and they actually have to go to DSS if the egg happens to get, or the baby happens to get cracked. And that's an instructor, a registered nurse who is in labor and delivery that provides that program. It was one that she created. Along with that, they'll receive the Don't Text and Drive information, and Sandy Russ at Allstate Insurance will provide that. All middle schools will attend Education Day at the Crawdad Stadium, and that'll be an event with their mentors. We'll bus them down. Their mentors will meet them there. They'll have lunch, and when the game's over, they'll come back. On May 19th is our Celebrate the Children at Taste of Caldwell, and we invite all of you to attend. That's actually when we kind of celebrate the year, celebrate the children that we've worked with. On May 11th, we're going to have an open house for the Rankin House, and I'd like to report that they're starting to clean up the work site there. Once they get painted and the phone system installed, we're probably going to be just about ready to start moving back in, and we hope to be moved completely back in. And I'm going to say by the end of May, with all of the events that we have planned, that we'll be back into the Rankin House. They dropped the storage pod today, and so we're excited. We're really excited about the house and being able to be back in it. The last thing is our senior graduation breakfast, and that'll be at the Armory on May 24th, and all of you are invited to attend. We'd love to have you. Our speaker that day, we're hoping, will be Deborah Murray, to talk to the students about what's going on in Caldwell County and what opportunities here for the students. Thank you for your time this evening. Does anyone have any questions? You can volunteer to mentor. Dr. Stone has been a great mentor.
I don't know about that, but I've had a great time. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Safe travels. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, moving on to the board action. A couple of items I want for the board's approval. One is the policy revisions to board policy 8220, which is gifts and bequests. I'll just call your attention to the fact that we put in some dollar figures, and the way it will work now is that anything that is over $1,000, whether it's a gift or money, will have to be accepted by the superintendent, and I will report to you quarterly those gifts for information only. If a school is given a gift and it is up to $1,000, the school will accept that and will notify me, and subsequently will notify you as well. So we'd like to recommend approval of board policy 8220.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve board policy 8220.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The next policy that we would like to recommend for a 1-month comment period is board policy 6125, which is administering medicines to students. We'd like to acknowledge that many students are capable of administering their own medicine and can carry their own medicine for emergencies. So we're added a section D, and we are adding language that would allow students who meet certain criteria to be in possession of and to self-administer medication. And I do want to ask you to look at the copy, I think that was at their table. That's the most current copy, and basically it just allows us, under circumstances, for students to carry and to administer their own medicine. We'd like to put that out there for a 1-month comment period, 6125.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we put policy 6125, administering medicines to students, on a 30-day comment period.
In a second, any comments or questions? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. The next policy that we would like to put out for a 1-month comment period is current policy 7100. When we were looking at the procedures and the recommendation from the North Carolina School Boards Association, we found one little sentence that would take care of like 10 little paragraphs. So that is on page 3. We have added item completion of an I-9 form, which is a verification for new employee enrollment eligibility. By putting in that particular language, we can kind of collapse all the different other types of, because it was a bullet points of the different types of things that a person would need. So we'd like to recommend approval for a 1-month comment period of 7100.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we put board policy 7100, recruitment and selection of personnel, on a 1-month comment period.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one more action item. Every year, the State Department of Public Instruction requests that if school districts are going to have district-wide summer school, that they are notified by April the 1st. So we had it last year at 4 of our schools, was very successful. We would like to do this program again this year at 8 sites, a possibility of 8 sites. We could go up to 8. We could notify the state. We try to have those based on benchmark testing, as well as the EOG marks and higher poverty index, as well as other factors. So we may not have 8 sites, but we'd like to have the ability in our plan to go up to 8 sites for our district-wide summer school. Summer school would be a 3-day affair. The first week, immediately after school, starting on June 14th, we would have 2 days of real intensive instruction in math. Then we would have the end-of-grade test for half a day on that, the 16th of June. And then the next week, we would have end-of-grade, and again, this is basically for K-8. We would have end-of-grade reading and science instruction on Monday, the 19th and 20th. That'd be intensive instruction. And on Wednesday, we would have testing for those 2 subjects. The cost would vary based on the number of sites that we have, but we'd like the ability to include in our plan the possibility of having 8 summer school sites.
Do I hear a motion that we approve the 2017 summer school plans as outlined by Dr. Stone?
I make the motion we approve the summer school plans as presented.
Second motion.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Stone.
And where it will go next will be through the Finance Committee to look at sites and to look at funding.
Next, I'd like to recognize Associate Superintendent for Human Resource Services, Dr. Trish Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Stone, I have 3 items for your attention this evening, beginning with Exhibit 5. Exhibit 5 includes usual and customary personnel items requiring no action but presented for your attention. Exhibit 6 includes usual and customary personnel items requiring action by the board. I respectfully recommend approval of these items as they have been presented to you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the usual and customary personnel items as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And final exhibit number 7 includes student transfer requests since your last board meeting. Since the last board meeting, we received 19 requests for student transfers. Of the 19 requests received, 13 meet board established criteria. Therefore, we're recommending approval of those 19 requests for transfers. If approved this evening, that brings the 2016-17 student transfer requests to a total of 611. I respectfully recommend approval of these student transfers if they've been presented.
move that we approve the student transfers as presented.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Dr. Jeff Church, Associate Superintendent for Auxiliary Services.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Stone, I have 3 items for your attention tonight. The first is the approval of the Caldwell Early College High School and the Caldwell Middle College High School calendar for 2017 and 18. With this calendar, their school start date would be August the 8th, 2017, and then their last day for students would be May 18th, 2018. I respectfully request approval of this calendar.
Do I hear a motion that we approve the Caldwell Early College and the Caldwell Career Center Middle College 2017-2018 calendar?
Chairman Pennell, I recommend that we approve the Caldwell Early College High School and the Caldwell Career Center Middle College 2017-2018 calendar.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Exhibit 9 are bids and a lottery application for improvements at High Brighton High School track. It would be doing the same thing that we did at South Caldwell last year. The lowest successful bidder was Mountain Crest, which is Mike Willis. He's in the community, actually graduated from High Brighton, and those bids were $495,800. I respectfully request the approval of the bids and the lottery application.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the bid from Mountain Crest LLC for High Brighton track improvements and the lottery application to pay for it.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any
Chairman
comments or questions? That's a different surface though than same
No,
surface?
it would be the same type surface, yes.
Okay,
Yes. The track itself will look same as South.
okay.
And then next year we'll be putting forth West Caldwell.
Is that kind of the soft material then?
It is, it's rubberized. We're going to be taking up the existing asphalt and then putting new asphalt down and then putting a rubberized coating on top of that, surface on top of that.
Okay.
Be a good product at the end.
Now, any other questions or comments?
Ask Mr. Smith how this works at South Caldwell with that new track.
Working out great. Trial run, this practice this year, that's our first one tomorrow.
If you've ever walked on one, it's unreal at the bounce that you get and how much easier it is on your knees. Good surface.
And so next year after West has theirs, then we'll be through with tracks for a while.
Yes.
$400,000.
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Before I mention Exhibit 10, I'd just like to take a moment. Coach, as a former student of South Caldwell, I truly appreciate your leadership in all the years that I was there. And I just thank you for the man that you are. And with that, I'd like to gladly recommend the approval of naming the South Caldwell baseball field, Fred Lanford Field, on behalf of Mr. Smith and the school community.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the naming of the baseball field at South Caldwell High School, Fred Lanford Field.
Second.
Any comments?
Well,
Although, well, go ahead.
we received some private letters, I guess y'all got
Yeah.
from Chris Smith and David Bush, and we thank you for that. We received no opposition.
All
We
those
also
in
received-
favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Congratulations, Fred.
Congratulations, Coach Lanford. Fred, I remember when you first started down at South Caldwell. No, I'm sorry, Hudson High School. What year was that? 60? Well, that's true. Okay, very good. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I didn't make the money, he did. But anyway,
Roof ceiling.
congratulations. And I hope that whenever you have some kind of formal dedication, that you'll let us know. We'd like to be there if at all possible. Okay, Mr. David Johnson, Director of Finance.
Mr. Chairman, board members, and Dr. Stone, I have exhibit number 11, which includes 3 budget amendments tonight. The first one is budget amendment number 10 for the State Public School Fund, is an addition to the budget of $178,258. It is for, basically it's for benefits with the new retirement rate. Budget amendment number 11 for the Federal Grant Fund, it is for $19,210, and it is for the McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Act. And the last one is budget amendment number 12 for the Special Grant Fund. It is an appropriation of funds from DPI for a special contract with Caldwell County Schools in the amount of $119,711. If approved tonight, these 3 amendments will bring the total budget to Caldwell County Schools to $121,405,199.81.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we approve all the budget amendments as presented tonight.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you,
Great.
Mr.
Thank you.
Johnson. Dr. Stone, do you have some announcements for us?
I do. You know, we almost bit the bullet and had missed school today, but we didn't. Thank goodness that snow that came in. I appreciate you guys, you students, praying so hard for that snow to go away so quickly. I do want to mention that we are still holding that we still have one student makeup day coming, and if the weather continues to hold, that we don't have any more missed days. We were going to forgive that for students so they won't have to make up that day. The other part I wanted to use my few minutes here for is to ask the West Caldwell High School students if they have any questions about how the Board of Education works, or what you've seen tonight, or any suggestions for us. Come on, you got to ask us a question. You cannot leave and we'll tell your teacher you didn't ask a question. What is it that intrigued you about the board, the board's work?
What
Yes?
happens when there is an opposition?
When there is?
Yeah.
Well, the way the Board of Education works is that you have 7. There's one gentleman who's absent tonight, and they each have different opinions. And it's all geared toward what's best for kids, no doubt about that. All 7 of them have a heart for children. But when you do have a question that there's some opposition, that someone feels like we should do something a little different, we usually have that conversation. We also have committees. We have a finance committee and a facilities committee. So a lot of times that is discussed in advance. Plus there's private conversations. You don't have 4 of them having a conversation because that's a quorum and that's illegal for them to do business outside of the board. They can only act as a body. The chairman can't make decisions for the Board of Education. All 7 of them have to do that. But there are occasions that the board would have some difference of opinions. Anybody else want to answer to that?
The majority rules, so if 4 people would be in favor, say, of the calendar, and 3 people against it, then the majority would rule. And, you know, if the opposite were true, if only, say, 2 or 3 people were in favor of next year's calendar and 4 or 5 people voted against it, then we'd have to go back to the drawing board, so to speak, and see if we couldn't come up with something that suited the majority of the board.
But most of that is worked through behind the scenes instead of in the public view. One other thing you may not know too, as far as being elected to the board, is that every 2 years there's an election. Okay, and on 2 years, 4 seats are open. The next 2 years, 3 seats are open. So it rotates like that, and the terms are for 4 years.
Any other questions for us? Those are excellent questions. Yes, ma'am. Oh, please tell us your name. You can't give out that. Jordan. And what was yours? I'm sorry, I didn't ask your name. Hayden. Okay. Jordan? You know, I've never had that question posed. You see this man in the white shirt over here. He is the finance officer, so he may have to do some looking for that. We could probably do the credit union. I'm not sure every other bank would want to put in a ATM. I don't, and there are some schools that actually have, mostly for staff, an ATM somewhere on campus, but that's an interesting concept. Huh, never thought about that.
Things you learn.
I did. Any other questions for us? You'll notice that on the Board of Education, they usually vote yes or no. They can't throw out something and say, let's just vote on it. We have an agenda, we follow the agenda, and we try to move along. We operate by Robert's Rules of Order, if you're familiar with that. And so traditionally, our meetings last about an hour, so you all didn't miss too much of your homework or reading. We are glad you're here, and we're glad you're taking an interest in how the system works, even though it may be a homework assignment. We are glad. We hope you learned something from it. All 7 of the board members do enjoy what they do and have a passion for it. Thank you for being here. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my announcements.
And by the way, the 7th member, Mr. Joe Sims, is out of town in a situation related to his job. So he hated that he couldn't be here, but sometimes those things come up. Okay, the next item on the agenda is appointment to the Board of Trustees, Community College. And this year, the person up is Ann Smith. She has been on there. And a couple weeks ago, I got a letter from the chairman of the Board of Trustees saying that she was doing a wonderful job. And I think the board understands that. We have seen what she has done in the past. So at this time, what's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we approve Ann Smith for the appointment to the Board of Trustees.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion passes. And we will inform the chairman of the Community College Board of Trustees of that. Next, another thing that we do from time to time is go to meetings and learn more about school law and other issues that deal with the school system and students and staff and administrators. And we had 2 that attended addressing the gap between education and poverty. So if they'll take a couple minutes to speak to that. Mrs. Branch?
All right, thank you. The topic of this workshop, addressing the gap between education and poverty, is something that is near and dear to my heart and excites me to learn more about. Takeaways from this workshop, the importance of focusing on the journey of students who live in poverty and try to better understand the barriers that they face on a daily basis, and the importance of government entities like this board to be a part of developing a plan to ensure success for all students.
Thank you. Mrs. Edwards?
I also have a passion for students living in poverty. And I think as a board, we have a responsibility to look at facilities and test scores and other things that so affect these children. And one of the things that I was impressed by was the comment from a variety of board members sitting there who represented different ethnicities and different levels of funding for schools throughout the state of North Carolina. And one of the things that I heard them say is, as board members, when we look at addressing poverty, we need to go to the parents and to the children and listen to them and hear what they have to say about their schools and what we might do. And I think that's one of the things that's always impressed me with Air Board, is how willing Air Board in the prior has always been to listen to the children we represent and their parents, because they do care and they do want the best for their children. And so I thought, what a great idea to have an opportunity where we make it easy for them to come and talk to us and tell us what they need. And there were different people there who shared very personal things about living in poverty. And when we have that empathy, I think we will make different decisions for our children. And I want to thank this board. Before I came on, as a member, I saw you do that over and over. And thank you for your leadership, Dr. Stone. And I know that we're going to work hard to do the best we can for every child in Caldwell County. And as board members, I appreciate the opportunity for continuous learning and growth personally. And thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Edwards and Mrs. Branch. Any other comments?
We'd like to have a picture with you on, so before you leave, we'll be very quick. We'll get up and go over here and stand somewhere over here. And you guys we'll take a picture so your teacher will know you're here. Libby, you can take a picture, right, and send it to their teacher? Okay.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.